academic institution, and we are all very keen. I have hardly seen that person is so excited to plan the session like that, and it's commendable. So I have no hesitation to say that it's going to be a wonderful session, sir. So it's all yours.
Serious note and a lighter note also. Normally when Gurujis are there, we sit on the other side. It's very humbling to be talking to Guru Jan and pretending that I know more, which is not true, because thank you so much for giving the opportunity. It's not very common that one really discusses in this. I discuss on round table, but this looks like it's not going to be a one-way traffic, I can assure you. Now, my background is sort of known to you, but I want to put a little bit of a rider there. Corporate background, I've been there, but I'm like Ravi Shastri, Sunil Gavaskar, who don't play anymore, but they opine. They're like ringside guys making expert opinions. I've been out of active, hardcore corporate activity for some time. I'm as old as I look, I can tell you. But however, I've had the opportunity of engaging with people like Sunil. I've been involved with associations. So I've got a ringside feel. So I'm a spent force, but Rachna feels I'm not a complete to be disposed of as yet. So she called me here. Now I'm making this point because particularly in corporate life, you realize your shelf life is small in terms of what's going on. Far too much is happening, and we'll talk about it. So it's important to stay current, and I do try. I'm on the boards of a few companies, and I, as I said, work with a lot of youngsters also. So I'm doing this. My entry into your area, education field, is a lot more than what typical corporate executives do. I was very fascinated by education sector, didn't have the intellect to be one. So I have intruded into every opportunity I get into education sector. I've been very, very heavily involved. I understand all your terminologies. I've been the BOS. I sit on the academic council. I'm on IQ AC of many of these. I go through the NAC registration procedure. Interestingly, I was on the NAC executive committee a few years back doing what they do to people. You know what NAC does to people? Not very nice, but and various other forums, Board of Management, Governing Council of Educational Institution. People are nice to senior looking people, so I'm getting entry into this, though quite often when I enter educational institution, I was mentioning this in Symbiosis 2 days back. So one thing is nice, when you go to any educational institution, they give you benefit of doubt and say, "Aap doctor honge." So I get addressed to Dr. Bhargava, and I said, "Hello, please. I'm not even a postgraduate degree, I'm postgraduate diploma. So doctor क्या मैं compounder के लायक भी नहीं हूँ, पर मुझे doctor बना दिया जाता है whenever I enter." So that's been one of the joys of being engaging into this. So here I am. Academics is all about depth. I don't pretend to have depth in academics, but I have width of academics because I have worked all through my career engaging into things. Sir, when I graduated, Professor G.R. Kulkarni was my teacher at Institute of Foreign at IIM Ahmedabad. He was given the responsibility of DG IFT. 2 years into the job, and one day he rings me up and Guruji phone karte hain to ekdam. He says, "Hamara OR wala teacher she's gone on maternity leave." And I wanted to say, "Pehle se pata tha na, maternity leave doesn't happen overnight." So he says, "No, but we are in crisis. Can you come and take the course of operation research for this postgraduate MBA that IIFT runs in Delhi?" So complete out of the blue, but that was, thank God, responsibility. I started getting into some teaching, etc. So my association with the education institution started much, much earlier. But as again said, I'm not the depth guy. I just happen to have the exposure. So what am I going to do with you? First of all, Sunil and I have talked about it. We're going to do some of the conversation together in bunch of things, and Dwarka is there, so he'll be able to pitch in. So let's make it a general gupshup, chai pe charcha, as they say, to make it a little more easy and relaxed. So I'm going to start by, first I'll give you, and I'm giving you what, so I'm telling you what I'm going to do so that you know when it will stop. You're already thinking कब खत्म होगा, तो मैं पहले से बता रहा हूँ कि क्या शुरू हो रहा है. So first I'll give 2 axioms which I believe apply to us. When I say us, it is academia, industry, interface. There are 2 major axioms I want to talk about. Then I want to talk about the characteristics of not 2 but 3 players. Who are the 3 players? Academia, industry, and we have to bring in Sarkar, we have to bring in the state. Why do you want to bring in state? You know, we all know whenever an engagement happens, you need a bhajji, na? बिना भज्जी के कोई भी ceremonize नहीं होता है. So there is this bhajji priest called Sarkar which steps in with its policies, regulation, etc. But we also must keep in mind when we talk about this bhajji, at least I haven't come across any bhajji, they solemnize marriage, but they never assure happiness in marriage or durability of that marriage. They don't take AMC for marriage normally, they don't take annual contract, they just do one time. So here again the message I want to say is that if we have to coexist, we have to not count too much on Sarkar. Because Sarkar will come, announce something, etc. Like bhajji, they'll go away also. So the important thing is that we got to work together, but I will still talk about it. So what we'll do is, as I said, couple of axioms, and then characteristics 3, and most important what I had, that's why she allowed me to come also. Kya karoge? Maine kaha, I'll talk about what industry can do. She says if you want to come and tell what university should do, please don't come in lighter vein. So I'm going to be talking about what industry can do, and this is something I want to do. So the first axiom of the 2 first axiom. Let's say industry is A and academia is B. Now, both of us have our charter, our responsibilities, I will use the word pedagogy, how we want to do, our KRAs, our motives, industry can be profit. We've got all our things and a way of doing things. This is A. Universities have a similar charter, responsibilities. I'm using what university, academia, whichever one, even a school has a thing, with its own clarity as to what they're supposed to do. Yeah, knowledge generation, research, knowledge transmission, teaching. And for that matter, in industry, it is knowledge application, which is their charter. They want to convert it to this. So these are A and B happening in their own ways, and I want to again humbly say industry came much later, B came much later. The concept of knowledge generation, knowledge transmission, guru shiksha happened much before industry came. I mean, go back to our history and go back to any civilization. So yours is a much more established, I would say, noble and historical profession. So there is A and there is B. Now, to impress you, let's use set theory. There's A intersection B and A union B. What is A intersection B? Where A and B have some commonalities. Fortunately, we are not like parallel rays which never meet. A intersection B is what this session and the entire 2 days is all about. How do we increase the size of A intersection B? Mind you, A has to do its own job and B has to do its own job. We are not trying to change the chart or anything, but can we do maneuver that A intersection B in the set theory or the Venn diagram becomes bigger and bigger? So that's our objective number 1. The objective number, the second part is that in this intersection, how do we make it as seamless, as efficient, as productive, as engaging to be able to do it? So this session and session that you've had and you keep doing, Rachana, is all about enhancing the size of A intersection B and increasing the efficiency of A intersection B. For want of a better word, we're talking about setting up bridges. So this is all about creating bridges, which is the first axiom we're talking about, because we'll be 2 islands, two mainlands if you want to call. And we'll continue to what it is, but we're trying to establish bridge, which is the scope. First axiom. Secondly, linked to this thing is, you create a bridge for what? For having traffic on it, no? So we want traffic on this bridge. Now sometimes bridges get inaugurated, there is no traffic, especially with election coming, you just make bridges, traffic नहीं होता है, और कई जगह इतना traffic है पर bridge नहीं होता है. So what is the objective of having this bridge is to have traffic, footfall, transactions, which is what we're talking about. Friends, if you've seen a four-lane bridge, is never 3+1, it's 2+2, na? When you have a 6-lane bridge, it is not 5+1, 4+2, it is 3+3. So this bridge has to have traffic both sides. And here I want to again go back to any of you science, engineering here students? Chalo, then I can bluff if you're the only one who can catch you. You know, there is this law of thermodynamics, second law of thermodynamics, which says there is a source and there is a sink, and entropy flows from source to the sink. This is the very fundamental things about thing. Everything is defined in thermodynamics as source and sink. Here we are challenging thermodynamics. We are saying nobody is a source, nobody is a sink, and both of them are source and sink. What I mean is the flow will be both sides. There is a thing that industry needs to contribute to academia, and there's a thing that academia needs to contribute. It's not a caste system. If you go back to our history, caste system started with Brahmins are knowledge generator. वो ज्ञान करते थे तो सबसे ऊपर माने जाते थे. Vaishyas were knowledge user, व्यापार करते थे. So they were user of knowledge. Kshatriya were of course applicating knowledge in some ways, in some form. And we always thought knowledge generator, Brahmin is the highest because वो ज्ञान करता था. बाकी तो आप apply कर रहे हो. So there was this protocol, this caste system that existed in society in the context of our caste system. In this, there is no caste system here. Both have their own value, both have their existence, both have their need for each other. So the hypothesis is A, you need a bridge, B, you need traffic on the bridge, and you need a two-way traffic on the bridge. So both have to be doing, and I think if we start with this, because a lot of thing in my own personal life, and I'll keep relating to this, etc. A lot of people think, I've done a favor, I gave a guest lecture, I'm mentoring 2 children. This is your job. Why are you pretending as though you want to do things? So with these 2 axioms, that A, intersection B has to increase, and B, the traffic has to go on both sides, is what I want to sort of move on to. You want me to use the PowerPoint? Because people will know I have done some work, na? PowerPoint लगा दे तू अभी. So here's, friends, I have tried to capture my thoughts. As I said, I'm going to talk about the characteristics of the 3 players, 3 stakeholders: industry, academia, and very limited to the government, because as long as it's relevant to us. Okay? So just go further. Please help me out. Yeah, just so here's now I can. कल उसको दबाना है ना? हाँ नीचे. नहीं इतना खराब नहीं, मैं इतना कर लूँगा शायद. हाँ okay, no, I'll just do it. Thank you so much. So I just want to very quickly cover the 3. What's happening in the industrial thing, which Sunil and I and Sir can talk with greater confidence. What's happening in academia? You people, I want you to react and say, "Aisa nahi, aisa ho raha hai." And so government, of course, is very fashionable. We'll beat up government like everybody does in all seminars. No, we won't. We will talk about how they can be a biggest enabler, and then I will want to okay, leave it for some time. I'm going to come out with just 1 characteristics of industry. Before we get into this discussion, I'll come out with 1 characteristic of academia before we get into it. This will talk in the thing. My slides are not busy at all, and there are very few of them. ये क्या चुप होने के लिए बोला है? नहीं. I can continue. Sorry. So here's one aspect of industry conduct, and I think Dwarka would be able to say, he'll be able to do. We in the industry, and I'm being very positive about it, are amazingly efficient in managing most of our business partners. I'll tell you what. When we want funding, we go and sit with our financiers, bankers, institutional, sit with them, do what is required to be done, because we want a resource input called money. When we want technology, we are equally good at working with our technology provider. We tell them everything about what we need. We look at what they have, and we work together, and do a great job. We are very, very efficient. Something that all three of us who have worked in industry, we are pretty smart at vendor development. आजकल वेंडर डेवलपमेंट नहीं बोलते हैं, हमारे टाइम पे परचेज वेंडर डेवलपमेंट बोलते हैं, आजकल सप्लाई चेन बोलते हैं ना. इट साउंड्स मोर कूल. So supply chain, vendor development. What do we do in vendor development? We do everything to make things happen. We identify someone with the right potential. We give them our specific. I've been a mazdoor, I've been a manufacturing sector man, I'm not a techie, so and we can relate. We drive our specifications, we go and say, this is the process, this is the material, we sit with the person, help them in making it more efficient, less losses. We even help with quality. We do train his people, get his people to come and sit on our plant and say, "Tera product kaise use karne wale hain?" Do all that we do. Why? Because we know that if the vendor is not successful, I'm not going to be successful, right? In some of the customized items, and I think we talk about, we even pay for the tooling of that vendor. For suppose there is a tooling to be done, whether it's casting, forging, etc. What am I saying? We industry are pretty used to and pretty good at developing our partners. When it's channel partners, डीलर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर उसका जाके शक्ल बदल देते हैं, उसका सब कुछ कर देते हैं, ट्रेन करते हैं कैसे बेचना है, कैसे सर्विस करना है. We are bloody good. So every single resource we need, or every single engagement we have with our partners, we are pretty good at it. It's not new to us because we know, and I'll talk about it, how this trend is only increasing. But when it comes to most important resource input that we need, called human resources, we stand in seminars like this and I say, Aajkal ki institute produces children who are irrelevant. They don't know what we need. We have to rework on them. They have no clue of what the real world is. And we say all sorts of things about them in every single seminar. I mean, we come across with virtually everywhere, they say, you have got big college, good buildings, and MIT has very good buildings, and so do many others. So you got good buildings, good complexes, but your bachas don't know anything about life. They don't know what is required. They have no clue. They come and we have to spend time. Similarly, if there was a vendor who you say, supply me castings, you don't tell what castings you need, what spec sheet is, what materials need. Will he be able to supply you casting? No, he'll give you whatever he can sort of put in his foundry and give you casting or a forging. There we take all the care. इधर हम कुछ नहीं बताना चाहते. And we just beat up the education, academic institute. I'm beating up myself because I've been in industry and I'm saying this very, very candidly to you. And we do this. So somewhere the industry needs to acknowledge that the most important raw material of theirs, most important resource is human resources. And we sit there and opine. And I've been engaging and talking about this. I say, how, syllabus not up to the mark? Do you go and sit on their BOS? The teaching methodology and they don't know, did you go and be a guest faculty in that college? The children don't know how many interns have you taken? Every single question that we talk about, we don't take a leap. अरे वो बच्चे आते हैं तो मेरा distraction होता है, काम में नहीं होता है. अरे bigger distraction is when those bachas come as graduate and you don't know what to do with them. So there is this whole business of us disowning our responsibility that we owe to the, and I will talk about the more responsibility we've taken up as a stance. Every single, haven't you guys listened to this so-called, not galis, but this opinion from people? What do you think? You've heard this before? You heard this, you hear this every time? Very often? Now, of course, one thing which has happened very recently, do you want to stop for a minute and introduce? No, Nasani, tell me. So, we tell, they don't know what thing. Frankly, in today's world, and Dwarka and Sunil will confirm, sometimes we also don't know what is coming in future. अरे उन बच्चों को क्या पता, हमको ही नहीं पता what technology I'll need 2 years later. I don't know what's going to happen to my product and processes. I don't know what my customer is going to demand. So we ourselves quite often are lost as to what skill set, what knowledge, what experience, what expertise I need. And we expect this college sitting somewhere who we don't want to visit except once to recruit. And then, of course, we talk in seminars and tell them, you don't know what I want. You're sending me some stuff. So I think this point I want to bring out very heavily, that this is something where we as industry seem to have abdicated our jimmedari. And you know who's the loser? We are the biggest losers. If I have to rework on every raw material I get and I know the amount of setup time, amount of time, it's such a lot of wastage. I'd rather pay more and get the right material. Here we are doing exactly the same thing with human skills. We're spending more time in training, retraining, coaching, rebooting them than if we had done if we and this is not one company, and there are lovely cases we'll talk about, and I've got this some here, where some people do. Most don't. Even a MSME will spend time with his vendor. ऐसा नहीं कह सकते कि यार छोटी कंपनी कैसे करेगी, वो सब करती है ना. So why not a medium-sized company work with an ITI where they're getting, or a polytechnic. I'm talking about vocational skill, and this applies to all for that matter. So I think there is something is the matter with us. And I'm saying this in defense in the beginning because that's one of the core problem that we have. Now, having beaten ourselves, what is the life that we're dealing with today? Believe me, we're really breathless. Most of us will make very promising statement about the future, but internally when we say, pata nahi yaar next year kya hoga? What technology, what customer, and who are the main drivers? The aspirations in technology. Technology is driving, and once upon a time, technology was one of our resource, our tools. वो बॉस बन गया है, सिर पे चढ़ गया है टेक्नोलॉजी आज. किसी को नहीं पता क्या होने वाला है, and we don't even know how to think. And I'm being very, this is happening in our own daily lives also we see. So with this trend, there is a dynamism, there is a huge level of, and I can tell you, Sunil can tell about multiple cases where we say, acha, let's firm up the plan for 2 years with a customer. And 6 months later, we ask for a meeting again. Because the customer says, nahi, aisa nahi, you need to do something differently. So we have a problem of this huge challenge with respect to how it's just, technology is not to tell you how. Once upon a time, we thought technology will tell you how to make a thing. Today, technology is telling you not how to make, what to make, who to make for, and why make, and so on. It's just swept us. The second aspect, which I think is very rightly so, there's a lot more awareness, partly driven by awareness, a lot more dirty linen that's coming out in the market. And I'm not, I mean, we all want to say we're good, but we know amongst us, when there are black sheep, the whole herd gets black, and we have enough black sheep in our ecosystem. And hence the need, ease of doing business is all right, but ease of messing up life for others is also not one of our entitlement. So there is a lot going on in the marketplace. Waste can be small, trivial thing like wrong packaging and writing a thing which is not there in the product, to a risky, safety hazard oriented product you're selling, to anything that you do or something which has a long-term environmental impact, or you're making it a manner with using child labor. And I'll go one step further. You're making it with labor who are not even paying minimum wages and making them do things. So there are a whole lot of abuse, misuse, exploitation, nonsense that happens. Perhaps was happening even earlier, but today it's becoming a lot more visible, audible in the ecosystem. So there is a lot more. ESG, all of you are aware of, you may be teaching ESG also. Certain organizations, certain countries have taken it up, thank God, rightly. Environment is not something to be discussed in seminars, or it is something for my, you used to say, mere grandchildren kya hoga? Then they say, what will happen to my child? Now you say, what will happen to me? Because the impact of environment is really not a conceptual, it's a real one. So that's another thing which has happened very significantly. That's what we in industry are grappling with. I'm not saying that we have an answer, but we are grappling. That's a new trend which has happened. There are many things that have happened. Another thing that is making us breathless is this business of, and you people see it all the time, It's a world of specialization, regimentation, fragmentation. I mean, like happening in doctors. I'm a specialist, foot, left foot, right foot, second finger, third toe. You know, the specialization has gone on into medical thing. Same thing is happening in our industrial environment too. There are specialists and further specialists which is going on. So this whole game is becoming like you're an orchestra player, Jubin Mehta. आप यही करते रहते हो because you're not doing for everything you're going to a specialist, everything you're trying to integrate. We all become integrators to a large extent. And in this scenario, and incidentally, please, I'm saying all these things which have a bearing on all of you. So to say I have a computer science department, take my children, the industry will say, no, you may have a computer science. Do you have a specialization in AI? Or do you have specializing in this? Because that's what I want. I don't want computer B, computer technology. So this regimentation, fragmentation, specialization is affecting the entire ecosystem. आप भी जाते हैं ना दुकान पे शैम्पू, एक शैम्पू दे दो, once upon a time there was एक शैम्पू दे दो. अभी कितने क्वेश्चन पूछते हो आप शैम्पू लेने से पहले? अरे बाप रे बाप, if I were a salesman मैं तो मर जाऊंगा. ये क्या है, इसका क्या होगा, what will be the effect on texture, what will be the effect on my skin? We ask all these questions because that's what technology has moved. So I think we need to be conscious that these are things, and there are many more things which I'm mentioning, which is no justification but a reality for all of you. And I'll just talk about leading to and give a pause because I want you to react, and then I'll come to helmet है because मैं academia के बात करूँगा, है ना, safety cover? No need, okay. So what is this global? Today, even the smallest supplier I go to, you talk to him, he'll suddenly talk about some material coming from Brazil here. Once upon a time, we used to have our factory, most of the things used to happen in our factory, टोका पीटी जो करते थे हम, और या 2, 5, 15, 20 vendor थे, वो सब करते थे. Today, everybody is linked to somebody or the other because that's how the world has become as global for raw material, for programs, for processes. We're all connected like hell. You know, some of you have done 3-legged race, छोटे थे आपने दौड़ते थे ना, तो 2 लोग के संग ट्रिप कर जाते थे. Abhi now everybody is connected on the hips. Can you imagine all of us connected on the hips and trying to walk? But that's exactly what has happened to us. So we have a situation where globalization, not a cliche of a politician, but the global things are going to affect each and every one. I mean, we can talk about multiple instances where, and the guy says, I have no control. I mean, I'm involved with Tata Auto Component. I'm chairing one of the companies of the TACO group related to electric mobility, batteries, etc. दिमाग खराब हो जाता है यार. When you think you are going Atmanirbhar, actually Atmanirbhar is making very nirbhar on each other. Ultimately you'll be Atmanirbhar, but your nirbharta on others is increasing in this because of the whole ecosystem having moved towards specialization. So that's one thing. The second part on uncertainties, frankly, it is true. I mean, there are companies which have suddenly disappeared from Nifty, top 50, top 100, etc. It's not that everybody goes down the tube, but the new sanstha that emerges, uski chhavi kuch aur hi hoti hai. It's not the one that we talked about completely. His company, GSK, Glaxo, one type of a thing, kuch idhar chala gaya, udhar chala gaya. So the new GSK is a very different GSK. And so is the case with lots of businesses that each one of us goes through. I mean, I was running a company called Kalyani Shop. We used to make televisions. One of the diversification of Kalyanis into consumer durables. And we used to, very proudly, because one of those 3, we made a product called VCR. Today people say, what is video cassette recorder? What is a cassette? What is a video cassette recorder? What are you talking about? They don't even know that product exists. In fact, I also don't know what the product happened. So look at how. And we used to struggle to get picture tube, flyback transformer, this, that, etc., which is a big deal for us. Today, television has become a painting. I mean, at least it hangs on the wall like a painting. What goes into doing? So it's the companies, there were big investment in those days into picture tube and JCTs and everybody. It's big deal. Arey, mujhe picture tube ka license mil gaya. I was very proud when we got Kalyani Shop along with Videocon and BPL got the license for VCR. We were thrilled. You say, so there is this whole scenario changing in much faster time than ever things. IC engine is getting by electric mobility is going to transform. So there is this whole sense of insecurity, uncertainty. Some, of course, thrive on that. And they should, because innovations come up, things, etc. But that's one of the challenges that industry is grappling with every day in and day out. Today, the concern people have on making investments is however, you will need steel, you will need cement, you will need these things, so infrastructure will happen, a lot of good things. Beauty care will always happen because women will continue to be sustained customers, and healthcare will continue to be sustained, but in another way. But most other sectors you don't know, you really don't know. And the last thing is, because it's got to do with children, etc. One is the whole concept of youngsters' aspiration today. For me, most of you are youngsters, but there are youngsters you are dealing with. And it's so difficult I'm obsolete, I'm not even vintage, I'm obsolete. But even people much younger than me who are running enterprises are completely foxed. Ye bacche ko kya ho gaya? I mean, I've been on the board of Persistent for a long time. Persistent is one of the IT companies. And every board meeting, this HR leader would come and talk about attrition and stuff like this. What tantrums here? It was completely, and the guys were, even today, like a dog's tail is still doing that. They don't want to come to work. Now, is it old-fashioned to say come to work? It is important that you come and relate with people, forget about your productivity. It's important you stay a human being. But these kids are not coming. We have a big challenge in this. Cummins, we had to be very strong and say, sorry, they don't want to come to work. I'm just giving one instance, and I'm sure I was completely foxed. We had our batchmates get together at IIM Ahmedabad campus. This was just after the COVID thing. So we went there. It was great fun to go back to your own college and so on. Can you believe, friends? So classes that started PGP, 400 batch. आजकल तो सब wholesale में हो रहा है ना IIMs में. So the professors were there and some of thing. So we said, कैसी चल रही है classes? Do you know what the kids had done? This is the leading management institute in Western India, as we used to refer to ourselves in case studies. Most of the kids had come from home to Ahmedabad because they wanted to come, and they were taking in Vastrapur campus class from their room online. There's a lecture hall. They were not coming to the lecture hall. They were in their shorts or whatever else they were in. They were taking the class online from the campus. And when the director, Errol, was there, Errol D'Souza, we said, kya ho raha yaar? He said, ye bacche nahi mante hain. They said, we have come because we didn't want to stay at home, we wanted to have fun. I am Ahmedabad. And they wanted to attend classes from their rooms. 20% children were attending classes when campus had opened up. Lunchtime was full, cafeteria was full, that's not. So I'm saying that today's generation is different. You'll say, yaar, aap to purane ho, aapko nahi samajh mein aayega, but aap to naye hain. So this, I may be not yesterday, I may be day before yesterday. But what one is seeing of day after tomorrow is something to be taken cognizance of. So that's one, their aspiration. Secondly, the gap which we talked about is happening due to two reasons. One, the uncertainty of what talent is required, what skill is required, what is required. That's one. And secondly, this mismatch, A intersection B, the traffic on both sides. These are the two things which are also contributing. So I want to just pause here before I come to my next part, which is all about the academia and thing. And first of all, want to know, is this what is relevant? And two, anything, I just want you to hear from you people.
So far, so good.
Huh?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Thing which is going on in our minds also. We, being an MBA institute, we have around 700 learners with us, and we focus on experiential learning. You may be knowing, recently our university, we've got a university status, Universal AI University.
Yeah. It's
Universal Business School. And we focus a lot on experiential learning. Not only at PG, but in UG level also, we have included in course structure one social immersion internship, 2 internships, then leadership development programs, and the last semester is OJT
Okay.
in 4 years. And students from our institutions are participating in research conferences and also publishing research paper. From academic side, we are doing everything. Recently, we had an HR meet in our institution, and we requested the industry that if a learner is placed, say, in the month of December, after that, the industry should, and December to May, that is SEM end, by the time the that is 6th term is over, we want industry to support. We are all out ready to change because we consider industry as our customer.
So you wanted them. So what was the response?
So only 3-4 companies said that yes, it's a good idea because see they are getting a raw material which has been molded by us, and we want to do that we want a smooth transition handover. So what can we do? So when you were explaining everything, I was questioning, the question which was going on in my mind is how can we make sure that we have syllabus, we have people from the industry fraternity on our board of studies, but people come and just give the suggestion on the basis of whatever that individual thinks. How can we develop a comprehensive input system to train the learner from day one?
Yeah.
And we are already working, and we have already been imparting education for last 11 years on KSA model.
Yeah.
Yesterday. So how can we interact?
Yeah, so I won't give a quick answer. All that I want to say, and we'll talk more about it, etc. You said we molded them. First of all, the mold design should be such that industry is a part of making that mold. Because once you take a molding out, you only machine it. The main molding, the grain structure of that thing and the shape of thing is decided by the mold. So the mold has to be molded in a manner. So that's what we want to say, this traffic which has to happen. Industry, and I'm going to, I've kept half my statement for the second part. दो हाथ से ताली बजती है. So we have to have, there are institutions like taking a lead, and we need to go further. To your point, to a large extent, NEP acknowledges it. If you see, as the implementation of NEP will happen, they acknowledge exactly what you're talking about. And we will really cover that, etc. But it's a challenge. I'll use the word. I think your conception, framing, pedagogy, test, content, way of doing it, everything has to be keeping in mind as to what the output. Just the way we in manufacturing do, we take all the inputs for a final product. So we'll just thank you for bringing that out. At least applaud the efforts you are doing. And I was sort of nervous when I asked you how did the industry respond, because I know they would not be great, but we can. So, and any other point, yeah?
Cute, and this is very common comment by the industries that students don't know so what industry needs. So if they see the spectrum and the variety of industries exist here, how it is possible within 4 years that we can prepare students to fulfill all the expectations of all the industries. So many times I have attended some seminars also. So they said now it is the prime responsibility of institute to prepare them to learn as industry needs. So in that case, can you throw some light that what industry should demand and how institute should prepare?
Yeah, I'll come to it exactly in my second part as to what you could do. And of course, and I'm going to beat ourselves up again, industry, on what they can do. My one quick 30-second answer is, let's not try and change the world. Let's start, you know, we keep hearing IBM has got a campus in IIT Delhi and TCS has got a campus in IIT Chennai, and ये सब ठीक है यार. But the world doesn't depend only on these 3-4 institutions. In big institutions, this model is working. You know, there are campuses. I'm personally involved with large number of such institutions where they have an offshore campus or thing, etc. So their industry is helping create what is required. But our larger model has got to be on bilateral. There has got to be policy. NEP gives you the policy framework. It has got to be done through negotiation, just the way you work a relationship with your supplier industry. I think the institute, and I'll just come to it as we get on to, but the point you said is very, very valid. Yeah. Any observations, Sunil, you or Narka, you have anything? Or you'll give your expert comments later? Yeah. Chal. Okay. So I want to come to quickly because she's looking at her watch all the time. नहीं? अच्छा चल. This is सबके सामने. ये भी रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है क्या कि मैं खाली चाय पी रहा हूँ?
नहीं, चाय है उसके अंदर, ये रिकॉर्ड हो जाएगा.
ये हो जाएगा. Can you come to the? Sorry, just do this.
There will be people at Pradeep.
Huh?
You add this team and you energize further.
No, but they'll also say तो चलता रहेगा. Record बंद होना चाहिए. Yeah, that's another thing I missed is LP record and 45 RPM record होता था, वो भी नहीं है आजकल. You know, we used to do that. Yeah. So here I want to put this, but before I'll come to one instance. That's why I said about industry being vendors, etc. Let's understand the academia. And I'm only pretending to understand. You people are the people who know what it is all about, but I'll take the liberty of this. What is considered, and I'm going to come straight on to the point, which is really the last point, but I'm telling you the story relates to this. What do you measure your teachers about? As I said, I've been involved so deeply into NAC that CR2, CR2 to 7, I know it by heart. I know 200 rupees, 200 marks is for this and 250 for research. I'm fully familiar with this, and all of you are smiling. It means you know what it is all about. Now, your first task as educational institution, I'm a factory. I'm producing graduate or postgraduates or school, high school. I'm a factory. You produce. He produces wire, I used to produce television, you produce bachas who are molded and ready for to face life. That's your first job. अभी पीछे नैक बहुत पीछे पड़ गया तो knowledge transmission की जगह you are supposed to do knowledge creation, research करो नहीं तो I mean I know so many faculties who are damn good teachers, very good teachers. उनका साला promotion नहीं हो रहा है क्योंकि PhD नहीं है. आप you go through all these challenges, don't you, in your thing? I'm very deeply into it, so I know what's happening. So I talked to some of my very good friends. I said, just because somebody is not a PhD, but she's a lovely teacher, you won't promote her? No, UGC norms, AICT, all that stuff is happening. Ho raha hai na? We in industry also had got into this snobbish mode, and I think this is something I remember sitting through these appraisals, etc. The very good salesman, उसको सेल्स मैनेजर कैसे फैन, उसको तो MBA नहीं है. अरे मैंने कहा यार बंदा बेच रहा है, अच्छा काम कर रहा है, MBA नहीं है, इसलिए उसको सेल्स मैनेजर. वो लोग क्या कहेंगे कि ग्रेजुएट को तुमने सेल्स मैनेजर बना दिया, MBA नहीं लिया. IM8 टाइप MBA हो तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है. You know all that stuff what I'm saying. So we go by a certain thing. The entire NAC rating, and as I told you, I was the NAC executive committee, deeply involved, and now I sit in IQAC of many universities, so I'm somewhat familiar with this. But when you operate at a national level, etc., you come to this, research has to be propagated, so give 250 marks for research, etc. उसमें extension लिखा है छोटा सा. Basically is publications, that to what category publications, etc. So there is this one thing in the institutions is being driven, torn apart with respect to research करना है, PhD चाहिए, मेरा promotion नहीं होगा, I can't hire any more faculty. That's true with most of the universities. I don't know whether private universities are observing that now, but you are under pressure to सबको कराओ. So this whole pressure on so-called, and rightly so, knowledge generation, research is knowledge generation. And the बच्चे भी सारे अजीब से आ रहे हैं कि they don't want knowledge transmission to happen as effectively because they have their own ways कि I'll learn it, Professor Google is there, why do I need Professor so and so, stuff like this. So in this, the point I want to mention about my biggest takeout of the academia institution is, and forgive me if I'm overstating, but I want to make a point overstating. You want the traffic to come to you. Now, please listen, hear me carefully. द्रोणाचार्य and एकलव्य की कहानी आज का ईरान में नहीं होती है. Nobody, as students or even anybody, don't think. और धृतराष्ट्र और संजय था ना, संजय यूज्ड टू इन्फॉर्म पीपल अबाउट, धृतराष्ट्र को पता रहता कि कुरुक्षेत्र में क्या हो रहा है. अभी इंटरनेट पे सब पता है. यू डोंट नीड अ संजय. And all of us, so I'm saying this in this world of explosion of information, chances, competition, opportunities. It may be somebody in Nicaragua who has that expertise. So the point is, educational institution, academia, and there's nothing vulgar about selling. A lot of academic institutions, हम तो गुरुकुल हैं, हम बेचेंगे कैसे? आपको बेचना पड़ेगा. You have to step out and solicit the things that we talk about. We talk about, hey, I'm good at this. Hey, incidentally, this is my expertise. This is my uniqueness. This is what you want to come for. And believe me, as an industry, if I want to go to an academic institution, you show me 20 papers you have published. I'll look interested, but I'm not interested. You show me 2 prototypes, lab prototypes, physical prototypes which are working, I'll jump at you. So you have to become within, it can be a software. I'm an old timer, I look at physical prototype. I don't believe software, I believe physical thing when I see it. But that's a matter of detail. So I think the academic institutions, and this is the only observation I'll make because I had promised to her, मैं academic वालों को कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा, but I do want to say that this business of positioning yourself, first of all, defining who am I. Everybody is an engineering college, everybody offers computer engineering, everybody offers MBA, BBA, every second crossing. Bhopal, I believe, I was told has some, नहीं कितने वहाँ पे engineering college 20-30-40 हैं शायद वहाँ पे. Bhopal alone has 30-40 engineers. See, one city, sir. I grew up in Rajasthan. पूरे राजस्थान में बिट्स पिलानी था. जोधपुर इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज था. हमारा जयपुर में खुला था. हम बड़े खुश हो गए थे. 3rd engineering college. I mean, I'm talking about years. Today, I guess every ward in the municipal corporation of Bhopal has an engineering college. I'm sure it would be. इंदौर में कितने engineering college? Every ward has one. Yeah. And as an extension branch also in some other ward. कि मेरे वहाँ पे आ जाओ like a ATM. You can do. So I'm saying there is a proliferation like hell, which is what I was talking about, unforeseen proliferation. So the point I wanted to make, and I will just quickly run through this, is you got to define yourself. आपकी छवि चाहिए, आपकी परिभाषा चाहिए, आपका uniqueness चाहिए. And that is something, especially if you want to, and you got to sell yourself. You got to solicit. Industry also, I have a damn good product, but if I'm not going to do anything, sometimes all of us know in consumer, we sell things that don't exist, but we say बहुत अच्छा है, बेच देते हैं. I mean, you do all that stuff. आप वो मत करिए, हम लोग तो गंदे हैं, आप तो अच्छे लोग हैं, academia वाले हैं. But you need to step out. And that is the thing which I think is important. To your question also as to how do we do this, industry needs to feel the heat कि मेरे को अच्छे बच्चे नहीं मिल रहे हैं. You guys have to feel the heat that I have to become relevant. And you're bloody competitive यार. आपके अंदर full page ad, पहले Colgate का आता था, Palmolive का आता था, आजकल आप लोग का full page ad आता है. Number of universities, ये university, वो universities. If you see full page ad, I said, अरे बाबा, they are way ahead in terms of, that is for admission time. वो सब full page ad admission time पे आते हैं ना? I don't know, Pune, Indore में भी होता होगा. So I think when with so much competition, it's a good thing that there are, because there's so many bachas to be educated, trained, made skill. So that's one thing which need to happen. You guys are also going through a lot of scrutiny. I mean, sometimes as it is, academics are known for their own bureaucracy. I mean, I sit on board of studies. एक Pune, SPPU, some little change in the syllabus, बाप रे, मैं दिमाग खराब हो गया. I chair one of the BOS and I'm also on the academic council of SPPU. I'm also on the of Symbiosis, which is the private university. But I tell you, in SPPU, I just can't believe. I said, आप कैसे काम करते हो? The whole thing, you know what I'm talking about completely. One little change in syllabus and God knows the bureaucracy takes over and so on. Why are you doing it? Partly because you're comfortable doing it, Aramnal. Secondly, the issue is the scrutiny is so high and has to be. A scrutiny in this tablecloth I sell, I can't do, sala phat jayega, I can't do too much damage. But a social institution like an educational or a hospital, if they were to give the wrong medicine or they were to teach the children wrong thing, it's a big issue. So the scrutiny is a way of life. You've chosen a sector. Social sectors will always be, particularly health and education, are too sensitive. और एक बार दो सैंपल को पूरा बैच ठीक था, उसमें दो में टैबलेट में गड़बड़ हो गई. अरे कुछ लोग तो मर गए ना. You can't say that, but this tablecloth doesn't matter. So the issue is that you are in a sector which is very sensitive, political, and that's why you see constantly NAC and stuff, etc. NAC being one of them, UGC, AICTE. I mean, I look at their letters and I say, क्या हो रहा है यार? कब पढ़ाएंगे? Education institution faculty, I often say to them, when do you teach here? You're only filling up forms. NAC, तैयारी करना is nerve-wrenching. And after that also, and so, I mean, I'm just saying this. And of course, what we talked about, constantly people like us, the responsible people come and say, ये नहीं चाहिए, वो चाहिए. अरे ये तो एक साल पुराना हो गया, get me something, and you can't change your course content and thing, etc. So that's a part of the challenges you face. And of course, it's leading to the last point I want to come, this business of research and training. Even if you come to a thing, there is some last mile of teaching, learning, which is still not considered very cool by educational institutes, called skilling. Educational institution, I'm deeply involved. Skilling क्या है? मैंने subject knowledge दी है. Industry कहता है तेरे knowledge रख, मुझे skill चाहिए. And this business of between research को तुम अलग छोड़ दिया. Between knowledge and skill is a big protocol-wise caste system in educational institution. Skill is considered low. Research, knowledge transmission, skilling time मिला तो कर देंगे. Now this whole concept of, and what is industry looking for? Not knowledge, not creating more knowledge. I mean, they're looking for somebody who can put his hands on, whether it's a software product or it's a hardware product. We all struggle with that. And skilling, so that's a wonderful, you have an Indore Symbiosis Skilling University, and I'm very deeply involved with Swati and the whole team, and I'm part of their things, etc., what they're doing in Pune, what they're doing here. There should be many more skills universities. Because in the same thing, research bhi karo, knowledge bhi transmit karo, or skilling bhi karo, it won't happen. Each one of us has to have a KRAs as we do in our corporate life or any life. What will be her KRA if she's running an enterprise? Will it be research publication? All right. Will it be number of students you produce knowledge? Yes. But if I say no, you also tell skilling. You will say, I can't do it, beyond a point. So we just need to create. So that's something that educational institutions have to grapple with it. Now this is not an issue in medical education, because they can't graduate till they do the work. The only organic linked 100% good pattern is medical education, and to some extent CAs. A chartered accountant also has to do articleship, otherwise he or she doesn't get it. So we've got these models where it's working. It will also take into account what today an NEP talks about, that you need to have so much time, internship, ye wo karke. So unless we integrate it, we'll keep calling each other names. And I think that's what the thing. So I just want to leave it here on the thing. You got to balance your thing, and like products, I mean, all of us have been, we start defining what is our USP. No company says I can solve all the problem. His products are well defined, he caters to a market, he's focused, he's zeroed in. He doesn't address many things. But then you have a problem. यूनिवर्सिटी का क्या मतलब है? विश्वविद्यालय. विद्यालय का विश्व है. There is universe involved, written in the word university. So how can I be a segmented one college type? And there is a whole merit, this big debate that is going on. Is IIT right model, IIM right model, or should it be universities? Where a law school person come and teaches us something and so on. But then most of you will get dissipated if you want to do this. So you come to a collaboration. Which is what, for example, some of those colleges have started getting. I mean, Gokhale Institute of, again in Pune, economics, those faculty go and teach, work with COEP. Somebody will come from one college to go and teach what you do in departments, in things, etc. So I think academia needs to define its chavi, its profile, in pursuit, things, etc. Don't get dissipated. So I just will take the next one, and then I think ये मुझे अभी तक आपने बोला नहीं कि बंद करो. Last one है, promise. Now, and this is the last one, but of course, video recording अपने पास ही रहेगी ना? Huh? No, I'm just joking. No. अरे नहीं यार, I'm just joking. Yeah, no. The point I'm saying is, here we have given a state built-in conflicting roles. They are the policymakers. They are one of the biggest operators of educational institutions, schools, municipal school I consider as state. Colleges they run. Higher education, private sector has come recent years. I mean, last 2-3 decades, except in Karnataka and Maharashtra, otherwise it didn't exist. And they're also the regulator. AICT is a regulator. So, जैसे रावण के 10 सिर हैं, सरकार के भी 3 मुंह हैं. The regulator in government is finding that operator in government is misbehaving. क्या करो? This is happening with respect to this is happening. I deal with industrial relations issues. Some of the biggest defaulters are the minimum wages not being paid, etc. Government department. Shram Shakti Bhavan, Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India.
Or public sector. Right?
Public sector.
Railways.
They are one of the biggest things. तो फिर सरकार स्पीच भी देती है और फिर ऑफिस कॉपी उनके पास आती है तो फिर परेशान होते हैं. So the government has a tough role it needs to do, and we've got this other spin of a center and state being a concurrent subject. In telecom they can come out with one thing, but in things like power or education they're struggling. You see amount of discussion that's happening on NEP and various other things. So government has its own limitations, but let's not let government off the hook by saying because they have limitation. They are the biggest possibility of biggest influence makers, which is something. So is the thing. And really the last thing that I'm talking about is a weak foundation. Friends, you must be realizing it a lot. I'm personally involved into institutions like Teach for India and many other school level things also. And I see the challenge that exists. You know, Pratham is doing some work on basic English language and others. It's a huge challenge. So the raw material that is Leela Poonawalla Foundation, I'm a trustee there. We're giving 7,000 scholarship. We say padhai ke alawa, we are spending more time in training them on other things which is in the syllabus is not being done. So what raw material you are getting has a challenge. As they say, it's a genetic problem with a whole lot of things, etc. Now you're trying, I'm going to work. I mean, as manufacturing, we know if there's a raw material problem, whatever machining you do, there is a problem. Grain structure is bad, there is a grain structure is a problem. So I think that's one thing which the government is looking with. They've of course tried to, in the new education policy, trying to address all the way to schools, that 3 + 5 + 3, all that they're doing, and even into this, etc. And of course, the last point is still a problem with the government. Not a problem with the government, but problem with the thing. If they let loose autonomy, and you read what some of the autonomous colleges are doing, it's shameful. It is terrible. After going all through the form, we give autonomy, and then who's losing? It's our future children. I mean, can you imagine a parent who is sent, put all the thing into a child, and the child has got completely uski zindagi kharab ho gayi yaar. I mean, ek bacche ke sang jo hota hai, and this is happening to thing. So there is a need for control, but then also, as Dr. Majumdar often says, ki India got independence, economic independence, लक्ष्मी को फ्रीडम कर दिया था 90s में, सरस्वती को अभी भी पकड़ के रखा हुआ है. So the education independence hasn't happened in India, but why is it not happening? Partly because government doesn't want to release anybody, but largely because the impact of a failure there is so severe. Economic करके 2-3 हो गए, NPA आ गए, all that stuff we can handle in some way, but you can't handle NPA here. If you produce your next generation, which is a non-performing asset, you are sunk. So there is a big challenge here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stop here, and coffee bhi hai. Usse pehle, if there's anything, then promise I won't speak after coffee break. But is there anything that you want to say, and then we can all discuss together. I have indirectly said what I want to say about, and I want to conclude it. Industry, what can they do? My main topic. We can start with sitting on BOS, helping the course content, point number 1, which is the content. Second is faculty. What do I mean by faculty? Get them to spend time with you, create more chairs. I mean, we can easily get chairs, means a lot, so that you have a certain person with thing, etc. Faculty upgradation program is FDP is one of the biggest things that people do in universities. Get involved and get some of those people into this. That's on the faculty side. Third is, of course, the facilities. You can do, industry can do a lot with facilities. Cummins College of Engineering, I've been involved as a trustee there for a long time. What we've done is, we created the whole mechanical and electrical department in Cummins College of Engineering for women in Pune, completely funded by us, 7 crores. It's a Melange Curations Sanstha, which is running a whole lot of things, only for girls. The entire Cummins, this Melange Curations only. So they have an engineering college for girls. They had computers, electronics type. We wanted mechanical to be supported. Cummins is a mechanical engineering company. We supported that in Nagpur, where they have a college. Complete facilities. We not only helped them, we procured them, used our purchase department to do it, got the best deal from our suppliers, set up the entire thing at Cummins College. The latest, I was in Cummins 2 days back. They've decided to set up a Cummins College of Engineering for Women in Guwahati by the same Sanstha. Complete funding by Cummins. So you can create facilities for honorable institutions like Melange Curations Sanstha, which is for women. So first was curriculum, second was faculty, third was facilities, and last one, of course, is got to do with the bachas. Get them in. Free labor milta hai yaar. We guys are very bottom line conscious. Here you're getting some enthusiastic youngsters, motivate them, use them for things, etc. But again, industry has to change its mind. I still remember College of Engineering Pune, everywhere else. They said, third year, fourth year वाले बच्चे को ले लेंगे. But first year, second year, वो कुछ नहीं समझता है. You just got to do with them, and biggest challenge you people have is the early stages of the graduation, which is what you talked about. Industry has got to do that. It has got to do, and I've been talking to a lot of companies. I said, send them to your vendors. If your system is too automated, etc., send them to your vendors. And some of these I'm working with Persistent, with some of the vendors, whole lot of companies I personally am involved into is being done. But we need to do a lot more. So answer to my question that was posed to me, we need to do a lot. So I'll just stop here, and sorry for extending the time, but I hope it was relevant. Thank you. Engineering Pune was running a company. I said during the summer, 2 mahine ki chutti hoti hai, we don't grudge teachers having. So I got some of them to come and work in the factory for 6 weeks.
Right.
But it was difficult for them to factory bus में आए थे, 8 घंटे लगातार बैठना, सायरन के ऊपर लंच मिलना. So that was a bit of a cultural problem for them, but they worked. Now the issue, those faculty came and said, yeah, I have learnt a lot, but it doesn't add to my rating in my college. Yeah, it doesn't in the KRA. The points, Raka was astonished at, we've been working in Pune, one day we decided to get whole lot of polytechnic principals, polytechnic and ITI principals to visit to Cummins. I had organized that as part of my CII Pune zone thing. And this is real story, and it was touched me completely. It was 15 years back. At the end of this conducted tour of factory, this principal of polytechnic, elderly man, he took me aside, he says, "Thank you so much." I said, he said, "Can you believe it? Since I joined the polytechnic, I have not entered a factory." Here is the principal of a polytechnic who hasn't entered. He would go and talk to people कि हमारे बच्चों को लो. He would go in most of the government polytechnic. सरकार में जाके डायरेक्टर ऑफ टेक्निकल एजुकेशन, उनके पास जाके वो करते थे. उनको ही से मैंने कहा क्यों नहीं किया, कि हमको मौका ही नहीं मिलता है. ऐसे तुम्हारे आई टोल्ड हिम गो टू PMT वर्कशॉप यार, पूना म्यूनसिपल ट्रांसपोर्ट, उनकी बसेस कुछ तो करो. ही से नहीं, कुछ नहीं. सो दिस इज द लेवल ऑफ थिंग. It was 15 years back. Things may have changed. So answer to your question is, we just, but आप शुरू करिए ना.
We have already started.
हाँ, तो but I'm saying as a fraternity. So overdone. Thank you so much. Appreciate.
We will also cover in our session.
Yeah, I think a lot of these questions will come. Sorry, मेरा sorry. Yeah, इसकी जरूरत नहीं.
So many suggestions, its execution would surely
Oops.
go on. And the further, dissemination of this information to the other institute would further help. So thank you so much, sir. You have taken so much pains to come on our request, and especially on request of sir. So thank you so much for a memento presentation. I request Amit sir to do a memento presentation from on behalf of us.
Teachers
Sir,
want to
it is visible on their faces.
So we can have a clap and say, the making of this